Assalamualaikum and hi guys!
Hi! Today, we would like to share with you about fiscal policy in China. China is the world's most populous country with a population around 1.4 billion in 2019. It is the world's third or fourth largest country with 9.6 billion square kilometers. Fiscal policy refers to the use of government spending and tax policies to influence economic conditions. China fiscal policy set by Government of China, primarily Parliament. China fiscal policy is known as proactive fiscal policy. It can be translated as a moderate expansionary policy.
To fuel its economic growth, China has consistently spent huge amounts of money in developing its infrastructure.
In 1998, to deal with the Asian financial crisis, China adopted an expansionary fiscal policy and issued long-term bonds of 910 billion yen, especially for construction. In 2005, to curb fiscal deficit, it adopted a neutral fiscal policy. Then, in 2008, due to the global financial crisis, China once again adopted an expansionary policy as China's GDP growth rate fell from 14.2% in 2007 to 9% in 2008. In this, expenditure was reduced and government control over the prices of commodities was eased. In fact, prices of 90% of goods and services were now being determined by demand and supply, without any government interference. This measure greatly helped China's economy to get back on track toward sustainable growth after the global economic slowdown.
The slowing revenue is caused by custom tariffs were reduced from 15.3% to 12% in line with China's WTO commitment. The impact of lowering the securities stamp tax rate became increasingly evident in 2002. The banking and insurance business tax was further lowered by 1% point in 2002. The increase in expenditures is caused by the following factors. The increase in expenditures is caused by the following factors. Next, more resources directed to the social safety net. Wages increases for civil servants. Increase in investment in agriculture, science, and education. Allow local governments to establish new taxes, such as a personal property tax. At the moment, provincial governments have the right to pass limited tax laws, but they have seldom used that right. Prefecture, county, and township governments have no right to enact their own tax law. China is a large country and areas within it are quite different, such as different stages of economic development and different resources. The central government should give local government the right to establish their own taxes based on specific local situation. Second, allow local government to issue bonds. Normally, it is not a good idea to transfer the current generation's tax burden to the future generations by issuing bonds. However, since infrastructures will usually benefit future generations, it would be appropriate to let the future beneficiaries share the burden of finance. Third, reform the tax system. To achieve equitable economic growth, China should increase direct taxes such as personal income tax and personal property tax, while reducing indirect taxes such as VAT, business tax, and consumption tax. China's tax rates are very high. For example, the highest marginal tax rate for personal income is 45%. Based on Forbes, China's overall tax rate was the second highest in the world in 2009. Indeed, China's government revenue has increased at an extraordinary rate at 32% in 2007, much higher than the GDP growth. Tax evasion is widespread in China. Next, establish a new social security system with a large personal savings account. China's social security system only covers a quarter of the labor force, and the social security debt is not too large. The Chinese government still owns a large amount of assets which can be used to pay the social security pension debt. Moreover, China's tax revenue has been increasing rapidly in recent years. The increased revenue can be used to repay the pension debt. In addition, the government owns all the land in urban areas, and the revenue from land sale can also be used for social security reform. Next, reduce government budget deficit. The Chinese economy is growing around 10% annually, and inflation has become a concern to the policy makers and the general public. Yet, the government decides to continue adopting expansionary fiscal policy by largely increasing government spending. The government should follow the balanced budget principle in the long run. At the moment, the government should cut its deficit and reduce the size of its debt, leaving room for future expansionary fiscal policy. Lastly, increase fiscal transparency. It is very important. China's fiscal system is far from transparent, particularly on the local level. If local government obtain the right to establish new taxes and to issue bonds, they must be supervised by the local people.
For conclusion, China has so far successfully steered its economy through the most difficult global economic conditions since the Great Depression of the 1930s. On this count, China's macroeconomic policies have been a resounding success. However, China faces significant challenges in the medium term to address growing imbalance in its economy, with growing consumer and asset price inflation the main symptom of these imbalances. China's macroeconomic lever will need to evolve to ensure the current growth trajectory is sustainable. This is recognized by Chinese policy makers. The period of the next 5-year plan may prove a pivotal one for the Chinese economy.
Thank you for your attention.